What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Crew 2, and in this video I will be going over the Pontiac GTO, which is part of the Prohibited Dream Story added recently into the game. And I gotta admit, it was a pretty fun one. Luckily, a lot of the steps aren't insanely far from each other except for like a couple, so it honestly really wasn't too bad, but nonetheless, this GTO is insanely nice. So jumping right into the customization of the new GTO, now this car has a lot that can be done to it, which is pretty awesome to see. Here are all the actual official colors that you can put on the vehicle. I'll spin it around as well. You can also add any of the colors in the game as well. Now, these are pretty much available for every car in the game. So for me, I'm going to go with a midnight purple color on this vehicle. You can also add liveries to this car as well, but personally, I'm going to leave it completely stock because I'm digging the overall look of this car without anything crazy on it. Now, moving over to the visual upgrades on this car, so I want you guys to let me know in the comments below the actual car that I'm trying to go after here, except for the hood, because, well, there's none of the hoods I actually like that really match the one I was thinking of. So I'm probably going to put something kind of weird on here, which is going to most likely be that. But here's the other ones, though. If you guys want to check these out, zoom in on that. Loving the detail of it. That looks insane. Moving over to the front bumpers here. Good amount. I actually like how the black color looks on there compared to the chrome. Although I do kind of like how chrome looks, but sometimes it could be a little overdone. But having 15 bumpers is a nice thing, even though normally like one piece is colored, then the other part isn't or something like that, which is what I'm noticing. That looks crazy on there. Going over to the next ones here. I don't really know if I like how these look with that big splitter coming out the bottom, but I don't really think it looks awful. I'm just not really into how this actually looks on the car. But moving over to the next one, we will have this crazy looking intercooler coming out the front with the tow hooks. And surprisingly, this really doesn't look too bad on the vehicle. Moving over to the next one, it'll change the color there. And it has like the mixed chrome with the black in there. I kind of like how that one looks. I will most likely just leave mine stock, even though these really don't look too bad on there. Now, moving over to the front fenders. Now, crazily enough, you can actually make this car a wide body, which I'm not really digging how this looks too much, but I wouldn't say it looks terrible. I don't really know if I would do that to my vehicle. But here's number 4, which kind of blew my mind when I first saw it. Look at that. And the craziest part is it actually doesn't look that bad. But if you have just the front on there, the car literally doesn't even look right. Like, what even is the proportions on that? Moving over, we have the rims, which I did manage to find a pair of rims that actually fit what I'm trying to do for the most part, but my goodness, a lot of these rims really don't look that good on here, so I'm gonna head over to these right now if I can actually find them. I believe those are gonna be it. That's pretty much the closest thing I can get to. You can actually change the rim size on these. Man, I have been somewhere else with these, haven't I? And then for the caliper, I'll probably just leave this completely stock because I don't really need to change that. Then moving over to these side mirrors. Now here's the regular one you guys get, which I'll probably most likely leave on there. Then we're going to have the, I believe that's painted with like the black piece on there holding the mirror up. Then we're going to have like the ones that look like missiles almost. Don't really like how those look either. Then we're going to have the fourth one. That one actually looks kind of nice on there. It's like more of a modern kind of one, I guess. And that one's black there as well. Moving over to the skirts, probably leave this stock as well, but here's the black one that goes all the way around, removing the chrome. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, by the way. Do you like chrome on vehicles? I really want to know because I know a lot of people are mixed on that. And then you can also paint the skirt there. And you're going to have whatever that is, which obviously that fit like the exhaust that will go on there, which I'll show you guys in a second. Then moving over to the rear fender, you can also extend the back, obviously, so this might actually fit the car a little bit better. So that's the other fender there. Then we're going to have the wider one, which I wouldn't say it looks bad on there. I mean, the one on the back doesn't look as bad as the front did. I kind of get annoyed when the fitment of the tires don't go that well with these. Luckily, it doesn't look too bad, though. And here's the fourth one, which obviously will fit the front. And I'm not too sure about how that actually looks. Now, moving over to the wings you can actually put on the vehicle. So obviously, the first one will be the stock one, and then we have number 2 here. Now moving over to the third wing here. Now I'm not really digging how these look on the car that much, but I wouldn't say they look awful. I just don't really like how they look. Then moving over to the fourth one. Finally, moving over to the rear bumpers you can put on the car. Now there's 14 other ones you can put on there, so moving over to the next one. Basically like a smoked kind of thing on the lights there. Kind of like how that looks normally on cars and whatever that is. And then moving over to the fourth one here, it goes kind of modern. I kind of like how that looks as well. Here's the fifth bumper, basically smoking out the lights there. Then whatever that is again. And then number 7 changes the back a bit. And then number 8 basically smokes the lights out again there. Here's number 9, puts that really weird back. I really don't like how that looks personally. Then we're going to have number 10. Ooh, that looks interesting. Number 11 there. And then 12 again. And then finally, probably what I'm going to end up doing to my car here. Gives those side exhausts. Then we're going to have that one smokes the lights out. And then finally that. So for me, I'm going to end up going with number 13 on mine. And then obviously we have the interior, which I'm probably going to leave this completely stock. I really can't do anything else with this. That'll pretty much do it for my Pontiac. Hope you guys really like the car. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think I was actually going after with this. It's obviously not perfect because I do not have the hood I want. The rims don't really fit it, and obviously some things are missing. But I really do like how this thing actually came out. Anyway, let's go take this thing for a test drive, then do a top speed run because I really do want to see what it can get to and how it competes with other vehicles. And then let's take it into a race to see how it actually handles. So now arriving outside, taking a look at the GTO, we can all agree that I think this thing has a pretty awesome look with this setup on it. I mean, I really do like how the hood thing looks on there. Kind of wish it was similar to the one I was going after, but nonetheless, this thing looks awesome. Let's take a listen. Now, one thing I do want to point out, just in case you guys might have been wondering, is this car is going to be a 4-speed, which I know this car actually was back in the day, but unfortunately, the 4-speed transmissions on the Crew 2 can be kind of weird to drive, especially if you are in manual. In automatic, they're really not too bad, but trying to shift them correctly in manual, if you guys are going after the best times on races, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but nonetheless, let's go drive this thing now. Kind of want to see how the acceleration is going to be on this, with this thing being a 4-speed. Sometimes the cars can be a little hard to drive. I've been noticing like trying to be in the right gear on turns and all that could be a bit of a challenge on these. So acceleration is actually a little better than I thought going into 4th gear here. Seemed like it lost a little speed there, but I'm obviously going over a hill. Let's take a left here. Hopefully I don't run into anything like I almost did. I will also leave my settings at the end of the video if you guys are interested in checking that out because I do feel like they are pretty good on here. Now, one thing I noticed about this car is, well, the acceleration is pretty good, but I noticed when you put it into 4th gear, it seems to struggle with acceleration a little bit, and going through the nitrous, it literally eats through the nitrous, even with Nitrochemist on here. So I'm going to turn around here if I can actually stay on the road. Let's go do the top speed run now, because I really want to see what this car can actually get to. Kind of makes me laugh how some of the newer cars do like a 235 on here, like 237. Then you have cars like these, like the Chevrolet 3100, doing like 255. It's kind of hilarious how that actually works. Let's continue down this way. So now I'm in 4th gear. So this is what I've been noticing. The car does accelerate really slow unless you guys use nitrous. And even when you use it, you go through a lot of it trying to get the car up to speed. So that could be one issue if you guys are trying to race this thing a little bit. But honestly, I just love the look of the Pontiac GTO, so I would just drive this car around and do the stories with it. Let's accelerate here. So 245 ran right into that, and oh, all those people. I'm going to do one more top speed run because that did not go how I had planned at all, so let's see what we can do right now with it. So overall, like the acceleration from the first 3 gears seemed really good, but I noticed in 4th it does struggle a bit there. Probably more of a cruising around vehicle. I really would not race this thing or like do competitive summit racing with it, although it probably could do it. The handling on this thing really isn't too bad, honestly, for what it is. So speeding up here, 247. Okay, so 245 to 247 is basically the top speed on this vehicle, which really is pretty good. Most of the good street cars do about 250 to 255, and then you have like the exception of the Superleggera that does like 260, but nonetheless, 250 is pretty dang good. So jumping into the street race test here with the Pontiac GTO. Now, there's a few things I want to go over with this car. First thing is, I'm not saying this car really is bad in any way. I just have noticed that if you guys like using manual on this game, and while the 4-speed transmissions can be a bit of a challenge on here, but they are still doable and getting good times and all that on these races. And I gotta admit one thing, I am loving the look of this Pontiac so much. I mean, it looks awesome. I love the midnight purple on there. I know this, color isn't stock, but it still looks really nice on there. And overall, I would say this car would be really good for using on like a longer race, I would say. Now, something on like a lot of turns, I just don't think this car would be very good because of the gear shifting, all that, unless you guys put it in automatic, which I noticed when you have the 4 speeds in automatic, the cars seem to do very good still, which is something to consider. Now, you could probably use this car on like cruising around. Now, I noticed doing the stories and all that, I ran into probably 10 of those live reward things, literally all over the place. So you guys could run your favorite street car and go after the stories. So this car will definitely be perfect for that. Now, one thing I have been noticing is the speed of the vehicle isn't really bad in any way. I really don't know why. I've been testing out a little bit and I've been kind of wondering about that, but every time I like shift down into 3rd, I'll do it right now. She's shifting down to 3rd is a little weird. So now I'm in 3rd gear. I'll put it in a 4th and a 2nd around these turns here. Also, one thing I also want to point out is the brakes in this car are not good at all. I have been testing them out a little bit and they're just not that great. Been adjusting them and stuff, and they really just do not make a difference at all. I still run right into stuff after trying to stop for like 30 minutes, so do keep that in mind. And shifting down can be a little bit harder because the car is obviously a 4-speed. So I'll show you guys right here. So going into 4th gear right here, you guys will notice that it pretty much slows it down for a second or accelerates slower. Obviously, some of the other street cars will probably not have this issue like the Superleggera or the Porsche. And I would say actually a lot of them for that matter. I notice a lot of the 4-speed vehicles tend to have issues in the last gear. It's kind of weird. I really don't know why. Even like, for example, the GTO Judge Edition in the Rally Raid class, I notice that car does the same thing. Got to really hit the nitrous on them a lot, which really isn't bad, but do keep in mind if you guys don't have Nitrochemist. We all know people are going to be using the best cars in the each class, which is definitely going to be the best thing to do, but sometimes you like to mix it up, which I plan to do in future summits, by the way. I'm going to be using a lot of the weird cars you really don't see. Overall, the handling is actually really good on this car, though I want to go over that as well. So I noticed it turns very nicely. It doesn't really lose itself. It has some body roll and all that, but obviously the car's from the 60s, and I still am really loving this thing a lot. I am a huge fan of classic cars, and the Pontiac's just gorgeous. Now, I'm going to have to adjust it a little bit because I think the handling is actually a little too good on it, which is a really weird issue to have. I know some of you guys have the ARBs and all that set up a certain way on some of these cars. They actually turn too much, which is kind of funny how that really doesn't make any sense. These cars actually grip too much. One thing I do have to admit is I really do like doing these stories. I think they are a lot of fun to do. I know some people have been mixed on them. Luckily, the one for the Pontiac isn't that long compared to some of the other ones we saw. I know the one last season was really long, like they're like 30 to 40 miles apart from each other. This one was actually really short, which is pretty awesome. I'll leave a tag on the screen for that if you guys want to check that out. But again, like, I would say this car is definitely worth going after, and the best thing is, obviously these updates are free, so we get all these really cool vehicles with them, and the Pontiac's definitely a really cool vehicle to see. I'm wondering what the other cars in there is going to be. I know the McLaren Senna is coming. Looking forward to driving that thing. Stay tuned for all the new cars, by the way, guys. I'm looking forward to driving them all and testing them all out. Nonetheless, here are my settings for the Pontiac GTO. Let me know your thoughts on this car in the comments below. Personally, I'm really loving it, and let me know your guys' thoughts on how this thing actually looks with my setup.